Good morning, Monday morning, and welcome to Useful Idiots Monday Morning. Matt got so excited he had to put his head between his knees for a second, like you do on the airplane. That looks like beer, but I'm trusting it's Diet Coke.
It's Diet Coke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trusting. Yeah. I don't know. I should actually where's my coffee? I gotta go get it at some point. Welcome. This is Monday Morning, where we watch the Sunday morning shows and then we respond to them on Monday morning. And that's our little joke. It's morning spelled as in sadness.
Right. Yeah. It's really inspired.
It's very inspired.
And actually, to tell you the truth, you're pretty good at the whole titles of shows thing, I have to say.
I came up with Useful Idiots. Yeah.
You did come up with Useful Idiots. Yeah. So you have
named our
not just puns, but concepts you're good
with.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you.
So how was your weekend, Katie? Before we
go, it was okay. Yours?
Yes, at a B+ for sure.
Wow. Why was it so
turning
good?
Towards A-. Just life is good.
Nice. Wow. Yeah, Matt Taibbi just said life is good. What is happening?
Checks over stripes, Matt. What does that mean?
Yeah, I don't know. What does that mean?
Checks
like you should wear. You don't wear striped shirts or anything.
Yeah, I don't wear anything with. I try not to wear anything that's complicated because I'm sure to get it wrong. So
that's funny. Sure to get it wrong. Yeah, my dad apparently, like back in the day, my mom told me that people thought he was mod, like that was his style, but he was just mixed met. Like he just had no style. So I guess mod style was like a lot of different patterns or something.
I think that's
what is mod.
I think that counts. Like when you're so like when you're so out of it, like if you're not doing it on purpose, but it's cool, I think it works.
Yeah.
All right, so lots of stuff to get to this weekend.
Yes, lots of stuff. Yeah.
It is never too early for a Diet Coke, by the way. And the rule is you have to have at least 1 cup of coffee before you have your Diet Coke, before you switch to Diet Coke, because that's the maximally unhealthy way of doing things.
Right. You want a lot of caffeine in it, yeah.
Right.
As much as you can get.
Should we start with Tuck Chad?
Of course, yeah.
And so this is something we're going to start hearing about a lot, but he's got a couple of themes that he started the broadcast with. But let's do the Meet the Press opener.
Yeah, the Meet the Press, the good morning.
And a good Sunday morning. So just when Democrats thought it was safe to brag about the economy after that healthy jobs report in October, the passage finally of the popular bipartisan infrastructure bill, along came word that inflation had surged 6.2% in October, the largest increase in 31 years. Not only could the inflation spike make it harder for Democrats to pass their $1.75 trillion social spending bill, as Joe Manchin has been hinting at, but it also calls into question whether the Biden administration has a handle on this.
That's Biden's "I once caught a fish this big" pose. That's one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, that is great.
Yeah. Sorry. Anyway, let's just keep going.
Problem after insisting, frankly, for months that the inflation would likely be moderating by now. It obviously is not. And just when Republicans, by the way, thought it was going to be safe to look forward to a united party heading into the 2022 midterms after their successes in 2021 last week, a nasty skirmish has broken out. The 13 Republican House members whose votes did help pass the $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill have received profanity-laced messages and death threats from some conservative voters. So why the anger over the kind of bill, infrastructure, roads and bridges, that normally produces bipartisan support? Because President Biden, who will sign the bill tomorrow, might benefit politically. That's why. At least that's what the former president fears. And that's where we're going to start this morning, with our increasingly dysfunctional Congress, dysfunctional politics, which is driving people to want to leave Washington or simply not run at all.
Okay, so a couple of things. Do you want to go first?
No, you go first.
So it doesn't seem to me like unprecedented Washington gridlock that 13 Republican senators defected to vote for an infrastructure bill, which is basically like a pork bill.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like
oink.
I think, and then we're gonna talk a little more about inflation in a second, but
yeah, and also getting like violent messages does not mean that the party is in disarray. I mean, they're always going to be, not to downplay that, but they're always going to be angry a-holes. It's a little early.
Oh, I know.
Me
Like this is sort of like a thing that news editors and so journalists have in their pockets always now. Like if they want to use add this angle that there's sort of vitriol in the population, you can just scan the internet to see how many angry social media posts there have been, and there's always going to be some, that are like totally inappropriate. So
exactly.
it's like the Bernie bro thing. They sort of crafted that out of Good Morning, fellow idiot. It's
Ooh, Matt's frozen a little bit. That's a cute little child actor. Oh, let me do a screenshot of that. That's Matt's child actor face. Sorry. Well, I'll say something. Actually, Wilson, can we play that clip that you got up? We didn't include it, but I think it's worth playing, especially while Matt's frozen, of just the very opening of that clip of the hate mail, the hate message that you put in there. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, let me grab it real quick.
All right, cool. Yeah.
It was
because it's kind of. It was Meet the Press.
Oh, it was on Meet the Press. Here, I got it.
Yeah, great. I hope Matt is watching, even though he's not with us on screen.
No, this is a good one. This
is a good one, right? Here, Taibbi,
we're back.
Okay, he's back, but we can still play it because it's related to what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
We're just talking. We have a little bit. We have a clip to show of one of these. Someone talking about these hate mails. But before we focus on the content, what the hell is in this background?
Who is
They're
this?
like a congressman who Rep Bacon or Nebraska, who's I guess was a victim of this vitriol. We can watch this, but it looks like he has photos of YouTube things. Like are those YouTube descriptions at the bottom? I don't know what's going on, but it's an interesting background.
Yeah, there's all kinds of weird stuff on the walls of congressional offices. I'm assuming that's where this is.
Yeah, this is also a weird angle. So
yeah,
like you're not supposed to be on that side if you're supposed to be on the other. Whatever, it's weird not crossing the axis. So let's just watch this a little bit because this is exactly. Yeah, by the way, why are there 700 people here and not 700 thumbs up? At least like half of you want thumbs up. Okay, so thumb it up, guys. Okay, so just press like.
Ugly time, a toxic time, and really unfortunate because it's not what we stand for as a democracy.
This week's GOP-led backlash over the vote to fund roads, bridges, and broadband is just the latest, as a portion of the Republican Party sees threats of political violence as a legitimate part of their partisan struggle.
We always have a difference of ideas, but these ideas should not be leading to violence.
House Republicans who voted for the bill have been flooded with angry messages, called traitors, told to rotten hell, and delivered death threats, like this one to Michigan Congressman Fred Upton.
Traitor. That's what you are. You're a piece of traitor. I hope you die. I hope everybody in your family dies.
It's a bill 19 Republican senators also voted
for. That's not nice. Very not nice.
So yeah. Go ahead.
No, it doesn't represent. They're trying to say that this represents a disarray in the Republican Party. That's what Chuck Todd was doing. He's like, on the one hand, you have this, inflation for the Democrats, terrible for the Democrats. On the other hand, you have expletive-laced messages going at the Republicans, but they're making it look like it's a sign of division of the amongst Republicans. It's so stupid.
Yeah, I knew somebody once who was a congressional aide, then later on went to become worked in journalism, did a bunch of other things, but he talked about how in congressional offices, the person who had to answer the constituent phone was the lowest on the totem pole. Like that was the worst job. It was sort of understood in these offices that like, even though it's important to do it, that the kind of people who would take the time to call a member of Congress's office over and over and over again,
Right.
Is usually a person who's like a little bit unhinged. So that there's always somebody who's going to do this in good times or bad times. So drawing a conclusion out of it is a little bit nuts.
Also, not that it's okay, but it's not really a death threat to say, I hope you die.
No.
It's wishing. I mean,
it's not even that
predictable.
You will die, you know?
Yeah. He's just observing the circle of life, really. He's just reminding him of his impermanence. He's a Buddhist and he wants to share that wisdom.
That's right. We're all in a state of awaiting death.
Yeah.
And I hope that you come to terms with that, as we all should.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Do we need to spend more time on that, or should we just go on to the more substantive thing, because it ties into this other thing? Let's listen to Janet Yellen talking yesterday on the same.
Because remember, they were talking about how bad inflation was. Yes.
Right. So this is Face the Nation.
Record level of job
with Margaret Brennan.
Openings right now.
That's right.
And yet there's a worker shortage at the same time. What is going on with the supply and demand mismatch here?
Well, first of all, the programs that were put in place, the American Rescue Plan and the CARES Act and other programs, really were intended to support households and families to get through this so that they didn't take a huge hit to their income. So financially, Americans say they feel good about their finances, and that's not an accident. And they're spending a lot, so demand is strong in spite of the fact that the pandemic has had a big impact on our economy. And that's good, because if you remember, after the 2008 financial crisis, unemployment spiked. Right. It took a really long time to go down, and household finances were decimated. And that hasn't occurred this time, so that's the good piece, but spending is strong. And the supply of workers is not back up to normal.
Right.
People haven't, labor force, unemployment is low, and labor force participation is quite depressed relative to pre-pandemic levels. I think part of it reflects concerns about COVID and exposure to COVID, especially in jobs that involve public-facing activities. And partly, the fact that childcare workers, educators are in short supply creates childcare problems that also tends to suppress labor supply. So as I say,
we can stop this. By the way, someone said Judi Dench will play her in the Lifetime movie. Judi Dench doesn't do Lifetime though. She never do.
Yeah, she wouldn't do Lifetime. No,
but she
I'm
could.
Not so
maybe
sure that she could. She could do it.
She could do
but
it.
I think she's overqualified for that role.
Yeah.
Wilson, I just emailed you something that we're going to want to talk about with this. So, okay, so inflation is the big bogeyman suddenly, right?
Right. Yeah.
And if you notice something interesting about whether it's Fed officials or whether it's somebody like Janet Yellen, who's a former Fed official, obviously, but now she's at Treasury, they always talk about things
Fed
like
is in the Federal Reserve, just so
Federal Reserve, right? Yeah. So they always talk about the things like the CARES Act. When they talk about ordinary people, what they were trying to do, we're trying to get them through this. We're trying to make sure they don't completely go hungry or whatever it is. But when we're talking about what those programs are designed to do for businesses, the effect is quite different, right? So we've seen a lot of really interesting propaganda come out in the last month and a half or so, companies are raising prices because they feel that they can. And I saw one description of what's happening is corporations are taking advantage of a once in a decade chance to jack up prices. Like, I don't know that that's true, but and then buried far down the story, you'll see something like, and wages are not rising with the cost of inflation. Because companies aren't raising wages. Like, in other words, they're taking all these profits, they're raising prices, and they don't feel that they're impelled to raise wages, to the level of inflation anyway. I mean, they have been going up. So there's all this panic about inflation because, as we discussed last week, it's not always a good thing for wealthy people and for companies, because there's a lot of instability. People, can lose the value of financial assets can vary in a way that's like doesn't always read down to the benefit of people who have them. Well, in other words, there could be volatility about who gains wealth and who loses it during periods of high inflation, right? But they always present it as something that's threatening to ordinary people, and that's true, because when you go to buy gas or go to buy milk, it can be bad,
gallon.
Right? But it can also present opportunities for people, and they never mention that part of it. And it can also present negative opportunities for the very wealthy, and they never talk about that either.
Right.
So,
and they also never talk. They always use it as to deficit troll, to be deficit hawks. Often use it that way. Yeah.
So, and while they are talking about inflation, Wilson, can we see the graph that I sent you of corporate profits since the CARES Act? She was talking about the CARES Act there. So this is like over, I'm not sure how many years. Yeah, it goes back a long way. If you look at that little spike there at the end, see how it was plummeting in this is March 2020. This is when like every business in the country was going to go bankrupt. Like we were going to lose everything from United Airlines to J.Crew to like 1,000 other companies were about to go under. And all of a sudden they passed the CARES Act, and the Fed goes on this massive buying spree. Its balance sheet is now over $9 trillion, which means it's essentially bought $5 billion worth of bonds during that time. And so you see corporate profits have gone up like 70% during this period, which is like supposed to be a crisis for everybody else. Do we ever hear about that? About
the massive increasing inequality?
Yeah, I mean, or when was the last time you opened the newspaper or clicked on a story that said, oh, by the way, like all these different sectors just had their best years ever during the
exactly. Chuck Todd could easily say, meanwhile, prices, meanwhile profits are soaring.
Yeah, meanwhile banks, insurers, pharmaceutical companies, defense contractors, they all literally just had their best years ever, and the amount of corporate profit, the rise in corporate profits in the third quarter of 2021 was the second highest ever since this one company started recording them in 2008. And the only higher one was the second quarter of this year, which means we're just in this like crazy, rocket ride to huge profits for very wealthy people. And we just never hear about that. All we hear about is this, oh, we got to do something to clamp down on inflation because that's dangerous.
Right.
Whereas that's kind of a much more ambiguous story than they present it.
And it's all, again, it's like the things that they're going to do because of inflation are never actually good for working people.
Right. They're going to raise rates, right? Or they're going to do something to slow down, this overheated economy, right? Like, that's the term they usually use in the financial press. Is overheated, right? And
Larry,
it's
Larry
always
Summers.
Yeah, right. Larry Summers always talks about that, and look, it is ridiculous. We have these crazy bond buying programs that just allows companies to endlessly borrow money, from the Fed. Essentially, the Fed is essentially pouring money into the economy at like an unprecedented level, and a lot of this stuff just gets monetized and turned into personal profits by corporate stock buybacks, right? So you get a company that was about to go under, like an airline, and suddenly they're a little bit flush, and what do? They buy back a whole bunch of their stock, which increases the value of the stock held by their executives. So they cash that out. So in other words, we're pouring money into the economy. Anyone who has financial assets does well. Anyone who doesn't does poorly, and that's how wealth inequality grows. And this has been the same pattern over and over again for like almost 15 years now. Dating back to 2007, 2008, and
what should they do instead? What should they do instead?
I mean, I think what aren't they doing? They're not what they're not doing is they're not passing things like Medicare for all, right?
Right.
They're not making the healthcare system more rational. They're not making childcare more rational.
Right. So all these things, if people actually cared about the experiences of average Joe.
Right. If they were actually going to invest, they were actually interested in investing directly in ordinary people, they could do it. Like in an example last time around after 2008 is they could have, there are so many things they could have done to help people who were either in foreclosure or who had lost big parts of their savings because their pensions were invested in mortgage-backed securities or whatever it was, and they didn't do that. Instead, they did this sort of trickle-down arrangement where let's rescue Wall Street, and then let's hope some of that money gets down to regular people. And this is what they're doing. They're just doing the same thing again. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of skeptical on the whole inflation panic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because it's not coming from a genuine concern about. Again, they could be panicking about healthcare. Like, when's the last? Why don't they ever talk about that? I mean, that's insane. Like, I think maybe that's more prevalent than the 20-gallon milk shopping story.
Right. Yeah, but and this is the same thing that we saw this in early 2009. Remember when and also earlier this year, remember Larry Summers in both cases was talking about, the perils of inflation. We have to worry so much about inflation. And now everybody, all of those types are thrilled because the long predicted inflation is finally coming, right? They've been doing, these sort of massive central bank spending programs dating back to 2008. And everybody said, oh, you can't do that because that eventually there will be inflation. And it never really happened, right? And now it's starting to happen a little tiny bit. And so what they're going to do as a result of that is there's going to be some kind of austerity type of situation where they're going to turn off a lot of this sort of Fed largesse, I think. I don't know.
That's the problem, right? That these types of things are used to justify austerity.
Ultimately, yeah.
We see you, Chuck Todd. We know what you're up to.
Well, I don't think Chuck Todd really. I mean, look, the reality is with most economic reporting, reporters are trained to say if the stock market goes up and inflation is low, that means the economy is doing well.
Right. We see you, everyone in the corporate media.
Right.
Including you, Chuck Todd.
Yeah. So
yeah, of course. No, he's not setting the agenda. He's just following orders.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. Is there other stuff we want to get? We wanted to.
Yeah, this is Matt. I mean, you must be so excited about this.
I am excited about this. I think he watches our show.
Yeah. What? Let's see. We're gonna see. We're gonna show a Chuck Todd thing, which I have to run and get I will be right back. I need to get a sweater. If my coffee's near my sweater, I will have my coffee too, just so people don't think I'm lying. But I do need a sweater. So you want to play this?
Sure.
Full screen, or
I'll babble on while
okay, you babble on. Babble on.
I'll set the stage. So for those of us who have been following, obviously we're always attuned to the Russia story. We've spent a little bit of time talking about one of our favorite people, Adam Schiff, the California congressman, and we've long complained that this is a person who has a long record of making statements to the media that don't pan out, and he's never really called on it by corporate media figures. They continually have him on to make new assertions and they never say, oh, by the way, the last 8 times you were on the show, you said stuff that didn't pan out. So we had a very odd scene yesterday on Meet the Press where Schiff was on and was confronted by Chuck Todd in a way that it was kind of shocking. The way our producer Matt Wilson put it, it was like I would have been jealous of it. It was like a mashup that we would have made ourselves. So as soon as Katie comes back, we're gonna play that.
Couldn't find a good sweater, but it's okay.
You couldn't.
It's better than nothing.
That's a good sweater. Is that not it?
It's not cold. It's not warm enough. I was looking for a warmer sweater, but it's okay.
All right. Can you fight through the cold?
Power through, yeah.
All right. So I set the stage and basically said that Schiff is somebody. We always complain that this never happens, and now this happened. So let's watch the tape.
I want to ask you something about the Steele dossier because it has been in the news for a lot of other reasons, including some questions about its validity. I want to play some recent sound that you had on the Steele dossier over the years. Take a listen.
Dossier.
According to Christopher Steele, a former British intelligence officer who is reportedly held in high regard by U.S. intelligence.
When you look at just what has become public, some of the public information is very much in line with what is reported in that dossier.
The most significant thing to me is that Christopher Steele may have found out, even before our own intelligence agencies, that the Russians were in fact aiming to help Donald Trump in the election.
As chair of the House Intelligence Committee, do you regret giving some credibility to the Steele dossier before anybody had been able to verify anything in that? A lot of those clips were done before there was any good verification. Look, there's some news organizations that made the mistake of publishing this dossier without verifying it. That's a separate conversation for those news organizations. But you helped give it credibility. Do you regret it?
I don't regret saying that we should investigate claims of someone who, frankly, was a well-respected British intelligence officer. And we could have known, of course, years ago that we would learn years later that someone who was a primary source lied to him. But what I just said, the clip you just played, ends up being exactly right, which is Steele did reveal that the Russians were trying to help elect Donald Trump. That turned out to be all too true. And in fact, the Trump campaign chairman was giving internal campaign polling data to Russian intelligence while Russian intelligence was trying to help elect Donald Trump. So the top line there of Russian help and Trump willingness to accept it and make use of it proved all too accurate.
Okay, the summary was accurate, but the details were incorrect. That does undermine the credibility, does it not?
Well, certainly. This Danchenko lied to Christopher Steele and then lied to the FBI. He should be prosecuted. He is being prosecuted. And I'll tell you this, if he's convicted, he should not be pardoned the way Donald Trump pardoned people who lied to FBI agents like Roger Stone and Mike Flynn. So there ought to be the same standard in terms of prosecuting the liars, but I don't think there ought to be any pardon no matter which way the lies cut.
No matter which way the lies cut, no pardon.
Yeah.
Taking a hard line.
So what do we think about this?
Well, he's pretty smooth.
Schiff?
I'll give him that. Yeah.
Yeah, his response to the whole thing is it looks like he just popped a couple of benzos, and he's got a line that he reads every time when people ask about this. Like, I'm not surprised.
Right.
We couldn't have known that someone would lie to Christopher Steele. And feel free to gloat. I am gloating. That's exactly what we're both gloating.
Yeah,
we're both right about this. And then he says, then he quickly does this thing where he says, Igor Danchenko lied, and if he lied, he should be prosecuted. And unlike the people who were prosecuted by Mueller, he shouldn't be pardoned. So he does this really clever thing where he flips it immediately to the wrongness of Donald Trump, which is skillful. I mean, this guy, he's good. He's good at this stuff.
Right.
But I was kind of amazed that Chuck Todd going after Schiff on this stuff.
Yeah, me too. It was like a historic moment.
Right. Now he missed a couple of things in there. There were some things that Todd said that Schiff said that he could have jumped on, but then also, the whole notion of, these things hadn't been checked out yet. They actually had, like, when Schiff was making these comments, a lot of this stuff already had been looked into by the FBI. And he probably would have known that as the House Intelligence Committee chair.
Right.
And so when James Comey testified at those hearings that he ran, Comey surely would have known that the FBI already had some issues with this report that Schiff was touting. But still, kind of amazing that Chuck Todd would do this. Although Chuck Todd has his own issues on this front. If you go back and look, I mean, he hyped.
Well, he said, that's a separate discussion, as he said, about the media's failure.
Right?
But no, but keep going. We're going to have it right now. Boom.
Yeah, I mean, like, he had on, he hyped it for a couple of years, and then even after the report by the Inspector General, Michael Horowitz, was released and basically blew apart the Steele dossier as a serious thing. He still continued to talk about it. He had the Fusion GPS people, Glenn Simpson and Peter Frisch, on to hype their book, and this was after the Horowitz report, which left little doubt that these guys were at best shaky. So, but still, I mean, how do you account for? I mean, is this like a?
The walls are like closing in on Russiagate.
Yeah, it's sort of like a lifeboat situation, right? Like they're all deciding to eat each other, like preemptively. Maybe, I don't know.
I guess
what's going on. Could it be morals? I don't think that's possible.
I doubt it. Ass covering.
That's always good. Yeah. That's a good explanation.
We should do a thing. We should use all their language about the walls closing in, like
Tucker Carlson. That is a good
one. That is good. Yeah, we're gonna have to call him that whenever we talk about him. Tucker Carlson. That's good. We should use all the language about the walls closing in. It's end time. What else did they say? They didn't say it's end time because that's not even.
It's the beginning of the end.
Yeah, it's the beginning of the end. Yeah, for Russiagate.
Right. This is the beginning of the end.
Yeah, this is the beginning of the end. It's all gonna fall apart. They're gonna finally they're gonna indict Chuck Todd. They're gonna indict Adam Schiff.
That's right. And momentarily on the Ides of March,
Yeah.
You know what's funny about that is that whole walls closing in and the beginning of the end thing, it's like the entire press corps was doing Tom Friedman's "The Next 6 Months Are Critical" thing. Remember that?
No. What did he say that?
This was during the Iraq War, and on 14 different occasions he wrote articles saying the next 6 months of the war will be critical.
Wow.
In determining who was going to win and all that, and he kept doing it over and over and over again. And they finally
equally critical.
Yeah. And that's how they I forget who came up with the term. Someone came up with the term Friedman unit, which is 6 months.
Oh, that is good. Yeah.
Yeah. But in this case, it was like everybody was saying the walls are closing in,
right?
Or, so funny stuff.
Yeah. Should we go to our next?
Okay, this is Stelter, right?
Yeah, now we're going to Stelter. Whoever dealt it, Stelter. Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
So we have a couple seconds of one, and then we're going to watch a couple minutes of the other.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
It's Steve Bannon versus reality. Bannon, the former Breitbart chief and Trump aide, is a nexus of political nonsense. He thinks he's waging a war on elites, but he's really waging a war on truth.
It's like
as Daniel Dale put it recently,
yeah.
Bannon's popular podcast is a dangerous fantasy land of election lies.
Dangerous.
But that's not why Bannon has been indicted by a grand jury. He's been indicted for ignoring a congressional subpoena. A subpoena
I think that's all
in
we need
connection
to
to the
watch,
January.
unless you want to talk about the actual substance of his. No.
No.
Yeah. So it's funny that he calls him a nexus of political nonsense, because the thing that we should admit about Bannon, especially if you don't like him, is that he's not nonsensical. Like, this is a guy who has thought long and hard and is not an idiot. He's not an idiot. In fact, he's like read his Lenin. He's very and like people should be. In fact, David Sirota, did he quote him, or did I want to quote him during our interview? I mean, he lays plain a lot of things. Like he says how bad how much Obama and Bush's response to financial crisis led to Trump. He says that
laid the foundation or something like that.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So he's actually someone we should listen to, not with what should be done. But anyway, I just think it's typical. Like, they don't know how to talk about the right or distinguish between right-wing idiots and right-wing people who have part of the story right.
Well, like, just to take an example, when in 2016, when Trump was running, remember after the convention, he got into that whole spat with the veterans' families, and he was saying a whole bunch of stuff, and he was plummeting in the polls, and they sent him on that tour around America, and he started. I was actually on this trip, and he was doing this thing where he was talking to all white crowds in these weird rural areas or or suburban areas, and talking about how he was going to rescue African American neighborhoods, and his the press thought it was, what's he doing? What's tried to be banned?
It was Bannon.
It was Bannon's calculation,
right?
That Trump, all that to win, just got Republican because Hillary's votes were going to be. He thought Trump was that there was another Republican Party that was too racist to vote, right? It's weird that if they found the country to spend a month rehiring people who lived in like white areas,
right?
That Trump actually cared about black people, he would find a segment of the Republican
Matt, I think you may need to refresh your window.
My window.
Like, refresh your connection, because it was pretty bad. I love what Matt said. We heard about 5% of it in the last minute, but I also want to just take the time to thank Clayton really quickly. Thank you so much, Clayton, for your generosity. Love this show so much. Thanks for being hilarious, Katie. I love your glasses and solid hat shirt choice, Matt. Lol, have a good week, everyone. Thank you, Clayton.
Thank you, Clayton.
So could you just quickly summarize what you were saying that Bannon did with the black voter?
He figured that there was a segment of Republican voters who wouldn't vote for Trump because he was just like a over the line too racist to vote for, even for Republicans, right? So they sent him on this tour to rehabilitate his image with Republican voters. Now, to the press, it seemed nuts because, like, why is this guy talking about
saving
black issues to all white crowds? Like, how could that possibly make sense? And it turned out to be it turned out to save his campaign, Right. So when Bannon talks about stuff like, yes, he's diabolical and but he's not an idiot. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like he's someone who's got, and he's very much got his pulse on.
Got his finger on the pulse.
Yeah, on where the weaknesses are, and both the traditional Republican Party and with the Democrats. So,
which doesn't mean we like Bannon, but you got to be able to admit when people who you disagree with are smart, especially because it's useful to listen to what they're saying.
Well, and that's the reason. Remember that whole thing where the New Yorker employees revolted and decided to uninvite him from a thing, because he didn't want to. Who would want to interview the person who was responsible for getting Donald Trump elected? Like, why would you want to know anything about that?
Yeah.
It's just crazy. Anyway, so then Stelter went on another.
Yeah, this
rant.
This guy is fun actually to watch. Let's watch this one. Then we should have this person on the show, maybe. Wilson, you got that one? Okay, perfect.
Does Mike Lindell sell besides pillows? He sells false hope, and Donald Trump is helping him. False hope is a combustible thing. So I want to show you what Lindell is doing in his far right corner of the web and how it affects everyone else. Lindell is a born-again Christian and pillow tycoon. He built a comfortable business and then he jumped into bed with Trump's political movement. He was rewarded with White House access and airtime. Trump even endorsed the pillows. So Lindell was an insider and he loved it. Now both men are on the outside. But not for long, Lindell claims.
So you love the way he kept squeezing
with the energy of an auctioneer or a preacher, he spouts the lie that Trump is actually the real president and that the election shall be overturned some way, somehow. He says all of this on Lindell TV, his home for true believers. Watch the intro to his show and notice the reference to hope, that he provides hope.
This is the Lindell Report, bringing you news combined with hope by offering practical and achievable action points to assist you in defending and preserving faith and freedoms. And now, here is your host, Mike Lindell.
Hello, everybody.
It's like the Daily Show, right? But this show is where Lindell rails against last year's election and attacks the voting company that's suing him and claims China rigged everything against Trump. He keeps kicking the can down the old road, first suggesting Trump will be back in office in May, and then August, and now November.
I think
he claims he's heading to the Supreme Court with a case they will.
I don't know if he means the Daily Show. I think
he was trying to say this is like a spoof, and because the
I don't
Colbert
think
Report
he's
had
making
that
smart of a
graphics
statement. Yeah, but I actually don't think it's that smart, that insightful, astute. I think he's just saying it's like I think.
Okay. All right. Is
we'll
there
just
more to listen
have to hear.
Let's see.
So that's getting filed a week from Tuesday. It's this thick. It's different. It's not what was filed before.
As you can see there, he's dishing this stuff out at conferences, on live streams, on webcasts, and he even says he's meeting with attorneys general in various states. Lindell has an entire universe of this stuff. He has a 24-hour feed on his website, and he has his own version of YouTube, and it's all part of this broader far-right brand. When other members of the media
I'm just going to skip around and see.
So all you daily bees
media scrutinize it, he screams.
The evidence is out. It's going to be too late to close the gate. So all you daily bees, you Business Insider, you politicals, you Yahoo, your Jim Akauskas, your CNNs, your Rachel Maddows at MSNBC, all of you, it's over.
He reserves his harshest words for Fox News, which he says is too afraid to tell the truth about the election.
Fox is the worst media outlet in probably the history of the planet. Why don't you help save our country? Why don't you talk about the 2020 election and getting rid of these machines?
He sounds like
your
Jesse
country's
Ventura.
gone. You're worse than all the left media put together. Shame on Fox.
Right.
And yet he still buys lots of airtime on Fox for his pillows.
James Adomian doing Jesse Ventura.
He does. He does
Right?
sound like that. Yeah. Yeah.
What Lindell is doing in
Let's
his
just watch
far
this
right
really
corner
quickly.
of the
We have
web.
to watch the
and how it
watch him
affects
grab
everyone else.
The pillow. Hold on.
Lindell is a born-again Christian and pillow tycoon. He built a comfortable business, and then he jumped into bed
like he's
with
nursing
Trump's political
like he's
movement.
burping a baby.
He was rewarded.
Yeah. No,
with
it's impressive. Like that's a person who knows how to hold a pillow.
Hold a pillow. Yeah, we got to have him on.
I think we should have him on.
We should, right?
The My Pillow guy really could destroy democracy. And listen to the language from Stelter, like how it's dangerous, and he keeps itemizing all the avenues he has of communication on the internet, as if he's like listing all the things that he would like to see banned. You know,
right?
I mean, I think that if you were really doing an interesting media crit on Lindell, what you would say, which is genuinely troubling, is that he's mixing sort of televangelism with politics in a way that hasn't been done before.
Right.
You know, he's kind of using a lot of the same techniques that the sort of megachurch preachers,
right, exactly,
and televangelists have used over the years to try to drum up the faithful. But he's made the cause of Donald Trump, the religious figure that we're all supposed to be following, or that his audience is supposed to be following. And he's even
Lindell
done the thing,
is louder than ever.
Sorry. Yeah, he's even done the thing.
No, where he like predicts that there are some preachers who will predict the end of the world by X date, or Israel will go to war with Iran by X date,
right?
Because it's prophesied, and then the date passes, it doesn't happen, and then they move the prophecy up. Lindell does kind of the same thing with with the proceedings to try to overturn the election.
Stop the steal, yeah.
Yeah. So
we can see him interview Trump.
Oh, can we?
Yeah.
And Trump is right there with him.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
Yes, I buried the lead. This week, Lindell says he's there in a 40-minute interview with the former president.
Oh.
Of course, naturally, Lindell does a lot of the talking.
You go back to November 4th, and we all lived this twilight zone. I always say, like, there was an old saying, if a tree falls in the forest and no one heard it, did it really fall? Well, then the media tells us there is no forest.
This stuff is the real twilight zone. And it's being endorsed by the former president.
Anyway.
So Lindell has power. Even though he's off in this far-right Looney Tunes land, he has power. And he's using it via his live streams every day.
And what's your point?
Yeah, what's the takeaway? What's the actionable intelligence there? To shut down the live streams?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what's he trying to say? There's a lot you can say about how fucked up right-wing media is, but you can't do this every single week and never talk about the failures of other types of media.
Right. Well, he does. I like that he talks about. Remember, he likes to critique the media for using slogans. But of course, like that's what he does throughout his whole show.
Nexus of nonsense.
Nexus of nonsense. Yeah.
Which sounds so much like Axis of Evil. Like
I know it really is.
Right.
Yeah. It was a censorship dog whistle. Yeah, we should come up with a term for that.
That is a censorship dog whistle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. What do we call that? We're gonna need some help.
A muzzle whistle. A muzzle whistle.
Muzzle whistle. Yeah. Yeah. Muzzle whistling. Muzzle call. Because it's like
muzzle call. Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, let us know what you think.
Yeah,
let us
we'll
know in the
work
comments.
on that.
Yeah.
Work on that. All right, really quickly, because there's a really interesting thing I want to talk about. The reappearance of David Spunt. Can we Wilson see his little broadcast?
And David Spunt at the White House with the latest on the administration's fight against COVID and against its critics. David.
Chris, during his first few months in office, President Biden pushed back against vaccine mandates.
So,
I didn't mean
can we go forward? Just go back.
Back, yeah.
Yeah. So,
you want to stop on his face, like a close-up
no,
of him?
so you can see the coat. So, Robin Williams once made a joke. He used to do this thing where he would plunge into the audience and he would find the person with the ugliest jacket, and he would say, "I love that jacket. Somewhere there's a sofa going. I'm so cold." Katie disappeared. I kind of lost my punchline there. I don't know, Wilson. Do you think that's kind of has a sofa-like quality to it?
All right. That's really funny. Is what I was saying before I somehow exited. So yeah,
right. It's kind of sofa-like that. Yeah,
it's definitely it's definitely a bad fit. It's like somebody bigger is cold. It's really cold right now.
Spunt is a little bit like if a sofa was a person.
You think? I feel like he's more of a sensible.
Look how wide and square he is. That could be a good seat cushion.
For the face or the body?
All of him.
All of it. It's all.
And his hair is a nice
Spunt shape.
pillow.
I think he's more like a love seat.
Yeah.
A sensible.
Yeah, you're right.
Seat.
You're right. He is kind of love seat-ish.
Yeah.
He's got an Ottoman-esque body.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe that's what he is, a little Ottoman.
But
we don't mean that ethnically, nationally. Yeah, obviously.
No, obviously.
We're talking about the furniture.
And also, I think I think Wilson's onto something that he's pleasing his appearance in the same way that like a nice couch is.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why I'm gonna go with love seat.
All right. Yeah, love seat is good. All right. Well, we don't even need to. Let's listen to a little bit because then I did kind of a celebrity math for.
Oh yeah, let's walk it. I think he is AI's idea of a generic person.
That is really funny.
Yeah.
He's proportional, somebody says.
Yeah.
All right. Spuntingville. So one of the reasons I was a little unprepared at the beginning of the show is because I was making a celebrity math for Spunt.
Yeah.
Could we take a look at that?
It does go high. It looks like a coat, not a jacket. It looks like an actual overcoat.
Right. All right. So Katie's going to miss one of these references, but
let me see. Hold on.
The way I have it is Max Headroom times Mel Kiper Jr., who's like a famous sportscaster weirdo, but he's got like the Spunt thing going.
The hairline.
The hairline.
Yeah.
Right? Max Headroom times over Devo.
So like divided by Devo?
Divided by Devo. Right.
Let's see. Plus.
You gotta go close up on the Devo because look at the hair. This was their Vitalis hair helmet costume. Remember that?
No, but I know Whip It and
it's not their actual hair. They're actually wearing helmets.
Oh, they're all wearing. Whoa. They're helmets that look like hair?
Yeah.
Shaped. That's cool. Wow.
Yeah. Remember how we talked about Spunt? Like the definition of Spunt was like one piece of hair.
Yeah. Yeah.
They actually did that.
Wow. Yeah. So maybe it's actually that times. Okay, let's see. Then it shouldn't really be divided by. It should be a plus.
Maybe.
Times. We'll have to redo the formula, but I like the variant.
Ingredients.
The ingredients, yeah.
And then plus Bela Lugosi.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
equals
good.
David Spunt.
I like it. I think it all works.
I think you're right, though. The math might be wrong.
The math but the figures are right.
Yeah. So it could be more like Headroom plus Kuiper times
Bella plus Devo.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, because then does anything ever? Are you really? It would be very hard to do celebrity math with the real division, because you'd have to be isolating, right? To like divide, you'd actually have to be isolating something in the things on top.
Yeah.
And isolating the things on top that aren't there.
Yeah, I guess so.
No, that are there but aren't in the person we're talking about. Right? So like if there was something in Max Headroom that Max Headroom had and Devo had, but Spunt didn't. Or sorry, if there was something that Max Headroom had and Mel Kiper had.
So for instance, Max Headroom has blonde hair, so you'd want to have like Max Headroom minus Brad Pitt times Mel Kiper, right?
Or divided by Brad Pitt? No, that wouldn't make, because if you divide by Brad Pitt, would that leave you with the other parts of it? What is division then really anyway? You're breaking it up. No, that wouldn't work, because then you could still no, I think you're right. It has to be minus. I think what we're learning today is something really important, which is that celebrity math really never involves division.
Right. Yeah.
You can't ever, right?
No, I mean sometimes you can. Like I think if you did like if you did Nancy Pelosi, right? And who am I thinking of? The actress. Let's see. So yeah, so if you like,
David
I can imagine
the math, and you're correct.
David Blaine did the math. I'm correct.
Yeah.
No, like if you did Nancy Pelosi, I could see the answer being like something over Joan Crawford.
But what happens to the Joan Crawford is my question. Uh-oh. Guys, we're gonna get Matt a mesh network. Don't worry. He doesn't have the physical setup to be able to Ethernet from the modem, but we'll get him a mesh network. Google Mesh. I'll do it this week. What do you guys let us know? What do you let me know while Matt? I just spun my pants. Sorry, what were you saying? Oh, yeah. What I want to know is what happens with the division. That's what I want to know. Like when you divide it by Joan Crawford, what is done to the person? Yeah, let's see. Someone out here has my back. Let's see. Who has this? Katie's right. If you divide by Joan Crawford, it's because you think whatever you created needs to be less.
Exactly.
Joan Crawford. Oh, but that, right. But I would, but isn't it still actually, I guess if division. Okay, wait. When you divide 12
You're right. I screwed it up.
It's always a minus. It's a minus. Because if you divide 12 by 3, you're just left with 4, right? Your answer is just 4. So there's no, but there is a 3 in there.
Well, 4 is still a component of 12. If you could subtract 7, that has nothing to do. You can subtract some blonde person to take away the blonde.
Right, but
I'm saying the division is Nancy Pelosi like, then that you can divide because there are components of her that you're.
Right, but wouldn't that just be really multiplication or addition?
No, but no, because like I think what I'm trying to say is like Nancy Pelosi plus something is like a watered down version of Joan Crawford. Like you know what I'm saying? So you want to divide out,
right?
Right. I don't know.
Then you're left
we
with
need some mathematicians.
Yeah, we need some mathematicians. Yeah.
Where's
it would
my
be
Harry Mack
Pelosi. It would have to be someone else divided. What we would need is someone else. Damn it. Dang. Really, if we're dividing, we'd be left with someone else. So it has to be, I guess that's what you did. All right.
No, I think I screwed this one up.
Yeah.
I don't think it should have been
you should
divided
take
by
it on
people.
your, it's not on you. It's that we are making a really important this is like our beautiful mind moment. Because speaking of James Adomian, apparently his a spunt is a male queef. James, yeah.
I'm sorry. I just spunted.
Yeah, sorry that Matt, you just made Matt spunt. Thank you, Matt. That was Matt Farr. That was great.
That was terrible.
Oh, Dan Campbell has a comment. Stelter put too much wine in his seltzer. That explains it all. Ain't corruption or shilling. That's actually some kind of math right there. Stelter equals seltzer plus wine. That's what we should call it. A stelter.
A stelter.
Like a spritz,
should be a drink.
I guess it's called. Yeah, but we can call it stelter instead.
A stelter is a wine cooler with too much wine in it.
Yeah. We need to make a useful idiots guide. We really have to have an idiot's guide to useful idiots, like trivia, a glossary. We've come up with a bunch of terms. In fact, everyone who remembers the terms or the references or the words we've invented, put them in the comments and we'll compile them. Oh, we've run over, but that's okay because we
have. Some people are saying that this bit has gone over too long.
Well,
anyway,
you know
so.
what? They need to be divided from their head needs to be divided from their bodies, or minus. I'm going to subtract their heads from their bodies. But
we will see you soon, right?
Yes, but quickly, I just want to say, please, guys. So James Adomian's grandfather, mathematician. I got cut off from saying that, I think, by a tech thing, but it's true. So we are honoring that. There's an Adomian formula or something. Okay, but also, guys, make sure everyone here subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got to get up those numbers. So subscribe. You just hit subscribe and then you press the bell. Also, whenever we're streaming, make sure you like and share. And guys, you're gonna want to become Substack members because this week we have an extended interview with Aaron Mate where we all make fun of Rachel Maddow. So you're definitely going to want to do that.
Right.
And, the 25th could always be Sabo Tabby Thursday. Do you get that?
No.
Let us know in the comments. All right. So, we'll see you next week, right? We'll see you later this week. Yeah.
Later this week.
Yeah. Thanks so much for tuning in.
All right. Take care.
Bye, everyone.